ladies and gentlemen, it is, thank you first of all for all coming out tonight and celebrating together with our community the very special day of Yud-Tes Kislev. As we discussed this morning, as on Shabbos, today is known as the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus. Today is a day of celebration as the foundation of the Hasidic Chabad movement. We are very proud of our community and all the Hasidim in this room. We have many Hasidim here. So the Alter Rebbe, the first Alter Rebbe, produced over the hundreds of years through his teachings many followers. Normally our Farbrengens are in-house. We're very honored today to have the opportunity for Rabbi Rav Pinson, who is a great scholar. He is a master of Kabbalah, Hasidism. He lectures around the world, and he's honored us tonight to be here. So I hope we appreciate, and God willing, I'm sure soon he'll allow for questions. And you can stump the rabbi, I'm sure you can't stump him. But we, as all Hasidic gatherings, as we always do, we'll start with Nigunim. A few Nigunim to get into the mood, a few songs. And then, God willing, we'll hear from the rabbi, and he'll inspire us into more songs. And so therefore you can turn off your phone, turn off your clocks, and hopefully time will suspend itself.
L'chaim, everybody, l'chaim. not sure what you know, what you don't know. So you'll just you'll follow along. If you don't know, we'll say it over again.
Is there a microphone?
You don't hear me?
No. I can get a microphone. Hold on. Easiest was today.
They hear Bob. Don't hear me.
No, I thought
That's why I said
L'chaim, you're not supposed to say, you're supposed to drink. It says about a Nazir, a Nazarite, that he should not eat mechatzan and vat zog. I don't want to translate this in English, but basically you shouldn't eat any types of wine, any part of the grape. Zog, you know what zog in Yiddish means? Speak. Zog. To talk. So Rashi writes that the word zog is a klipa chitzonius. It's an external klipa. You know what klipa is? No, not a vessel. The opposite. Klipa is like a husk, something that covers over. It's not allowed. Doesn't allow us to see the light. Listen, I have to explain the joke on top of the joke. Basically, that when you say Zog L'chaim, just say L'chaim, that's a klipa. That's what Rashi says. If you follow it?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Anyone? Okay. All right.
We're simple here.
So, it's Yud-Tes Kislev, and we say that it's the Rosh Hashanah Chassidus. It's the new year, a new beginning, the revealing of Torah's Hasidism, the teachings of Hasidism and Alter Rebbe. So to understand this a little bit, so there lived a Jew a few hundred years ago. He was very smart, he was a very holy man, a big tzaddik, and wrote some interesting svarim, Tanya. Some of the svarim maybe you've heard of, some of the books that you've heard of. Okay, it's a nice thing. What does it have to do with me and you right now? And the question is not only what does it have to do with us, what does it have to do with the world? Did something shift in the world through the revealing of the teachings of the Tanya, of the author of the Tanya? So the answer is yes, of course, and we'll have to understand why, and hopefully you'll understand this not just conceptually, but you'll also understand this internally, really in your own lives, what this actually means, the practical applications. So we know, you know what Kabbalah is? Kabbalah? Kabbalah. What is it? Yeah, that's the translation. But what is it? What is the Kabbalah? What is basically Kabbalah? Jewish mysticism, that's a very, very broad definition of what Kabbalah is. Who are the famous teachers in Kabbalah? You know any of the famous teachers in Kabbalah? Arizal. Rav Pinson. Excellent.
Roy?
Gloria.
Moshe Cordovero.
Cordovero, yeah. So, the Danish Schneider. So, yeah. I want to tell you something what the Alter Rebbe said. You know what the Alter Rebbe is, yeah? I'm assuming everyone knows what that is. Yeah? First Chabad. We call him the Alter Rebbe, the Old Rebbe. An affectionate way. Maybe that makes words better.
That's why I tried both if you have a chance.
Yo. Change the mic. This one doesn't work at all. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe once said like this. So someone said Rashbi. You ever heard of Rashbi or Shim Bar Yochai? Okay. So Shim Bar Yochai is the author of the Zohar. The Arizal was another great teacher in Kabbalah, in the development of Kabbalah. The Isaac Laureate, the 1500s. And then there was a Jew that started Hasidism in general called the Baal Shem Tov. Right? Everyone heard of the Baal Shem Tov? Yeah. So the Alter Rebbe, who's a third generation Chassid, which means there was a Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov had a student called the Maggid of Mezrich. And the Maggid had a student, his youngest student was Vishnei Azamu Le'yadi, the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe once said like this, that there were three people in history that had a understanding and a geschmack, and it's not a relish, but a taste, a proper way of tasting this world. Three people in the history. Adam Rishon, Adam, person number one. Person number two was Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Thousands of years later, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Person number three was the Baal Shem Tov. Because there are three people in the whole of history that really got this world. And he said there were three people that didn't have a connection to this world. Only one is recorded that he said that we remembered which one he said. The other two we don't remember. The first one he said was the Arizal. The whole Ari didn't have a geschmack, didn't have a tam, didn't have a taste in this world. Geschmack is not just a taste. You know, you can eat food. There's some people on this table that are eating food. Don't look at them now. There's some people that are eating. Okay, whatever. That's a geschmack. Understand? It's a different type of eating. Some people have a geschmack in this world. Some people, they're living. Have a geschmack. That's a very, it's a very high level. So the Baal Shem had a geschmack in this world, and the Arizal didn't. What does that mean? This is what Alter Rebbe said about his teacher's teacher. There's a story about the Alter Rebbe, that there was another famous Hasidic master. Another great Rebbe came to see him. Very famous Hasidic Rebbe. And when he came to the Alter Rebbe's house, he came for dinner. He came to eat. The Alter Rebbe had many daughters, and the daughters were very excited that this great master came to their home. And the wife of the Alter Rebbe made a soup to serve the dinner. And the daughters were very excited about the soup. They felt it was a big honor to offer the soup to this great tzaddik. So each daughter went into the kitchen, not knowing that the other daughter did the exact same thing, and said, you know, what can I really do? I'll add a little salt to the soup. To make the soup a little more geschmack, but this, the tzaddik will have enjoyment. And each daughter added another tablespoon of salt. And he had 50 daughters, so he had a lot of daughters. The soup was basically salt with some liquid. And they served the soup to the Alter Rebbe and to this other tzaddik. And there's different versions of the story, but I'll tell you one version of the story. One version of the story is that the other tzaddik started eating the soup and kept on eating it. It wasn't fazed. Ate a full bowl of salt. The Alter Rebbe, the moment he tasted the soup, he had a certain reaction, visceral reaction, and I guess he spit it out, and he said, "Whoa, that's way too salty." This is the story. Who do you think? Not that we're going to measure levels of tzaddikim, but who do you think is a bigger tzaddik?
The first one.
Of course, that's what you think, right? The person that has no taste in food, what a high level. You sure?
No.
Sure.
You can argue both ways.
You can argue both ways. We have to understand what is the argument to have a geschmack in Elam Haza. What is the argument to say when Torah's Chassidus came, its teachings of Baal Shem, which was revealed to Torah's Chassidus, that a person has to have a geschmack in Elam Haza. Now, what does this mean? So I'm going to tell you a little bit of history very quickly, just so you understand where we're holding now in history. When there's great teachers of Kabbalah in the past, certain revelations that occur in the world, we have to understand that these are not just events that happen at a particular time. Let's say, in the 1200s there was the revealing of the Zohar, or the 1500s the revealing of the teaching of the Ari. These are really cosmic changes in the world that affect the entire creation. Not just a few Jews in Tzvat learning the teachings of the Ari, or a few Jews in the Ukraine and Mezhebruz learning the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. And not only Jewish life. There's a certain revealing of wisdom that comes down to this world. And when there's a revealing of this type of wisdom, it affects everything. Psychology, philosophy, governments, commerce, economies, everything. Everything, there's a shift in the entire creation. Just like at the beginning, when there was Matan Torah, there was a revealing of Matan Torah. And the revealing of Hashem is one. The Achtus Hashem, there was a revelation of Hashem's oneness. This started creating a shift in human consciousness. We have this beginning of Adam. We're then again with Moshe Rabbeinu. But let's talk a little more closer to our history to understand what this is. before we go backwards, let's go a little forward and say, it's not a coincidence that we live in a democratic society and governments of monarchies all fell right after Baal Shem lived. It's not a coincidence. It's not just Baal Shem lived and all of a sudden it was, revolutions. And monarchies fell apart and democracies were created from the beginning of the founding of America. This is all divinely orchestrated. And because there's a revelation of this type of divine wisdom that comes down to this world, it affects everything and everybody. Even the plants, the animals, everything's affected. So let's start with the Arizal, just to make it a little simple. Is that all following? So there was a Jew called Yud-Tes, the Holy Arizal. And Arizal lived in a time very shortly after the expulsion of the Jews in Spain in 1492, 1497, 98, that period of time. And they lived in the 1500s, and in that time period, a very short time period, all the great sages from the Iberian Peninsula, and even from other parts of Europe and the Middle East, congregated in a small little town in Israel called Tzimtzum. And Ari revealed the teachings of Ari revealed Did anyone ever read the teachings of the Arizal? Did anyone ever look at this book? Not so much, okay. So I can say whatever I want. Okay, so one person doing it. Dari passed away, he was 38 years old. Very young. The entire teachings of the Arizal was under 2 years. That's it. Taught for less than 2 years, for 18 months. That was the entire career of teaching. And he brought down, it's not, say, a tremendous amount of wisdom. It's an immense, beyond comprehensible amount of spiritual wisdom to this world. There's tens of books of Dari, and I promise you that you can sit on one page of Dari all your whole life. One page. Out of tens of thousands. Literally. It's very, very dense Kabbalistic understandings of the cosmos, of creation, of the process of creation. And the Ari explained everything, but he didn't tell us what is the... there's something that's called a mashal and a nimshal. A mashal and a nimshal. A mashal is like a parable, a metaphor, and a nimshal is the interpretation of the metaphor. So that really talks about very mystical ideas of certain types of lights, and not to get you into the details, but he speaks a lot of things, and it's clear that the Arizal is trying to reveal something, but he's only explaining you the outer structure, or the mashal, and he wants you somehow to understand the interpretation. He's giving you the metaphor. The way he's explaining it is actually something that he experienced. He's not a theologian. He's not talking about a philosophical construct out of an idea. He's not a philosopher. He's a mystic. He's experiencing these lights, this tremendous amount of oil, tremendous amount of light that he feels Hashem's presence in this world. And he's giving a metaphor for that, how that came into this world. But he never explained the nimshal, the interpretation of that event. So let's say you talk about, let me give you a very, very simple example. Let's say you say there's an idea of Ein Sof, infinite light. And in order for creation to occur, the infinite light had to contract within itself, which is called Tzimtzum. The light was so overwhelming. And when something is infinite, there's no possibility for finitude. So therefore, infinity had to collapse within itself to allow for the possibility of finitude to emerge. This is a construct in the teachings of the Ari.
So he believes it's the
universe is infinite? I'm not sure.
The infinite light of God, the Creator, is infinite.
But why did it have to collapse?
Because if the infinite created, then the world would be infinite.
Some people believe it.
I'm going to get into that. That's another conversation. But in the world of finitude, which is our perception of time and space, which we see things as separate. Some people don't even remember what they ate for breakfast this morning, which means that the past is already past. In the world of yichud, of unity, of infinity, there is no past and future. You can actually remember everything that ever occurred right now. And everything is actually occurring right now. But we're going to talk about in the paradigm of the way we interrelate with the world, is that there's infinity. Infinity collapses within itself, withdraws within itself, allowing the possibility for finite creation to emerge. Okay, could you hold that thought for a second? This is what the Arizal teaches. A few hundred years later, comes along the Baal Shem, and the Baal Shem says that everything that we know in the teachings of the Ari is a mashal. So what is the nimshal? What is the interpretation of this metaphor? The interpretation of this metaphor is in the consciousness of the human psyche. Which means that everything that's talking about on a cosmic level is actually something that happens in a microcosmic level. If we're talking about infinite light on a cosmic level, it must mean that there's something infinite within us. In order for us to create, we have to practice Tzimtzum to reveal. For example, let's say you have a very interesting thought, something very creative. You want to tell it over to a 5-year-old child. You can't tell the child over the way you think about it. You have to practice a Tzimtzum. You contract the thought. You don't allow its infinite potency to be revealed, and therefore the child can conceive of what you're trying to tell them. Right? So what happens is this is the nimshal, the interpretation of the teachings of the Ari in the way of the nimshal. What is the essence of all the teachings of Kabbalah? Really, what's the essence of all of Yiddishkeit? What is the most important principle of Yiddishkeit in Judaism?
That is one God.
That is one God. That's correct. That is one God. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That there's one God is the most important statement in Judaism. What does it mean that Hashem is one? Hashem Echad means not only is there not, God forbid, dualism or polyistic understandings of creation, but in fact, there is only one God. And on a deeper level, there is only God. That's a very big difference in the statement. You say there's one God, means there's one creator, one unified creator, both sources of darkness and light, one creator. Hashem Echad really means that there is only Echad. There is only God. There's only Echad, there's only unity. This idea is already told to us on Mount Torah. This is what the Torah says, right? Alter Rebbe, Hashem we saw this is what we saw at Mount Torah. We experienced at the beginning of the Torah. We experienced that Hashem is one. But this unity of Hashem was revealed at Sinai, but was slowly and continuously being revealed throughout history until the coming of Mashiach. What's the time of Mashiach? The time of Mashiach is when the Bivahaya, that day that will come, will be Hashem Echad Shmocha, the name of Hashem, and Hashem's oneness will be one. Which means that if you lived 2,500 years ago, and you're a very religious, committed Jew living in Babylon, your understanding that Hashem Echad, that Hashem is one, is different the way you should be understanding it today. Because what happened is, and what it is happening continuously, is that the revelation of Sinai is continuous. So after the revelation of Sinai, which reveals one understanding of Hashem Echad, of oneness of God, this then comes further revealed with the Zohar, and another high revelation of oneness of Hashem. And then this becomes in a deeper level revealed with the teachings of the Arizal. And then becomes at a deeper level in the teachings of the Baal Shem. And then I think we have to say L'chaim. I think maybe that's And the point is that it keeps on getting deeper and deeper, our understanding of what it means to live with the understanding of the oneness of Hashem. And the fact that the world is moving, whether consciousness is moving in the same place or not, the fact that the world is moving into a more interactive space is a reflection of what's occurring on a spiritual level. The fact that we could communicate with people all around the world is not just a happenstance, because there's a deeper revealing of Hashem, of the Achdus Hashem, the oneness of Hashem. And we have to talk about this, what this means. Exactly. Make sure everyone's following along, more or less. Yeah? Just to make sure we're following along. This is all just preliminary to understand really why we're here and what we're doing here. We have to have a lot of different akdamas, a lot of different introductions, preferences. This is preference number 2. The divide, what is the relationship between the creator and creation? It's the relationship. Hashem, we say, is Hashem is Echad, Hashem is one. And Hashem creates a creation. Creation, what's the first letter in the Torah? Beis, right? Beis is 2. 2 means dual. The first commandment, the beginning of the 10 Commandments is an Aleph. Anochi Hashem is Aleph is 1. It's the oneness of Hashem. But creation seems to be a creation of duality, right? There's light, there's darkness, there's day, there's night, there's water, there's ground. So let's just imagine different periods in history to understand where we're holding now. If you lived in the 7th century, let's say, and you asked this question to your rabbi, what is the relationship between Hashem, the Echad, the creator and creation? What would the answer be? Hashem created the world. Right? It's very simple. Who is God? There's God. And God created the world. God created the world means that God is here, and the world is here. And there's a separation. There's a creator and a creation, not two separate beings, two separate realities, and creator created creation. So creation has achdus. Does creation have echad in it? Unity? No. Creation comes from echad, comes from Hashem echad, one God. But creation itself is inherently something that's dual, something that's divided, separated, havdalah, right? A world of separation. And then about, and incidentally, this is the way everyone related to their creator, to Hashem. Hashem, did you ever go, I don't know if you're ever there, but I'll just tell you. One of the oldest synagogues, one of the oldest shuls in Europe, the oldest synagogue, functioning synagogue in Europe, is which shul? Do you know which shul is the oldest functioning synagogue?
In Prague?
In Prague. The Alter shul is the oldest functioning synagogue in Europe. In Prague. It's called Alter, the Old New Synagogue. It's a very old shul. It goes into the 1200s. You ever notice that the shul, if you stand in the middle of the shul, you see the shul, the way the shul is shaped? What's the difference between this shape and the shape of the Alter shul? What's the first thing that comes to mind? The one, that's also, yeah, but what's the one thing I would say?
It's written on the
I'm talking about the shape, the structure of the building. The structure of the building. Over here, the building is square, right? With a very low, with a low roof. You have the steps. It's round and it's peaked. You ever saw the top of the shul is like a peak. Yeah, it goes like, it goes up like the arc. It peaks upwards. There's a synagogue, a shul that they found in Cordova. They found the shul in Cordova also from, they say it could be from the 8th, 9th century, very old shul. And it's a private, there was a rich man, a very wealthy Jew, had a shul in his own house. In his house.
In a Jewish
quarter. You can go visit the shul. It's basically they excavated, they found the shul, it's in his back, it's like in the back part of his house. The shul is very small, maybe the size of this, maybe 20 by 20 maybe, a small shul. But it's a very, very high roof. Very high, it's like four stories high. I'm probably exaggerating, because I like to exaggerate, but it's high. And I once davened there. It was a big schus to daven there. I'm assuming people have davened there, but not often. And I was standing there thinking, if I'm a 9th century Jew davening to Hashem, how would I relate to God? And my relationship to Hashem would be a relationship that the way I have to power. I would probably, first of all, I would probably be a frightened person from the local authorities. You know, if you know the history of Jews in Europe, it's not such a rosy story. Every day you don't know who your friends are. One day it's the Christians, one day it's the Muslims, and everyone's killing each other, and the Jews are always in the middle. And power was always a fearful thing. I was thinking, okay, I want to relate to Hashem. I want to daven. But I want to daven like a 9th century Jew, not like a 21st century Jew. I want to daven. And I'm going to tell you what I couldn't feel. I couldn't feel Hashem's love. I couldn't feel Hashem's intimacy. I couldn't feel Hashem's embracing me. What I felt was, what we say in everyday davening, is Hashem is Melech Malchei Amlachim. Hashem is the King of all kings. I was trying to imagine yourself standing in front of a king in the 9th century. And the king in the 9th century, basically, on a whim, because he choked on a piece of fish or something, can decide that you and your entire family is just wiped off the map. All your belongings and all your inheritance and all your whole family. Standing in front of a king, standing in front of power, was probably a frightful thing. It was awe. You had a sense of awe standing in front of the king. And imagine the King of Kings. This is like an awesome, awesome God. Hashem was this awesome, transcendent figure. The ultimate power of the universe. The creator of life itself. Certainly can take my life, gives me life. And when you prayed in such a posture, you felt very, very, very small in the majesty and magnitude of your creator. The divide between creation and creator is huge. There's no correspondence. There's no connection even. You're not even a fly. You're a piece of dust. I don't know if you can even. You feel yourself like a tiny piece of a speck in front of this awesome creator. Hashem, in the presence of God, in that image, Hashem, we relate to Hashem through yira, a tremendous amount of yira, a tremendous amount of reverence, of awe, of respect. Standing in the presence of Hashem. In the presence of the creator of all life. Hashem is the creator, we're creation. We're just, if anything, something tiny. Then came along the Kabbalah, the great Kabbalist that lived in Germany in the 1200s, called Hasidism Ashkenaz, the pious of Ashkenaz. You ever heard of this character called Yehuda Hasid? Shmuel Hasid, Shmuel Gemaisa, the Baal Shem. There was a group of sages that lived in that period of time. They were very big tzaddikim. And they lived in Spyro and Worms, these little tiny towns on the Rhine. Life was very complicated, very hard. The Baal Shem, one of the great tzaddikim of that generation, saw in front of his eyes his wife and his children murdered. It was a very, very harsh time. In history in general, not just with Jews, the whole world was a very harsh time. It was really the Dark Ages. And the Hasidism Ashkenaz revealed, and what this means that they revealed, it doesn't mean that they revealed, it was a revelation from Sinai. Hashem revealed through these tzaddikim, through these sages, a new understanding of the relationship between the Creator and creation. Because we have to get to the point, we're going to get to the point, God willing, to Mashiach, where the Creator and creation are going to be Hashem and His name will be one. There was a new revelation. What was the new revelation? The revelation is that creation occurs through a process of sort of like a cause and effect. And I'll give you a very technical way how they speak about it. There's something that's called an akuda, which is a point. Then there's something that's called a kav, which is a line. And then there's something that's called a shetach, which is space. Surface. That's a good word. The point, creation starts off with a tiny point. The point becomes elongated, it becomes into a line. Then it becomes into a surface, and then it becomes four-dimensional space. That's the way creation started. It all started from one tiny point. That's the way all creation emerged. There's Hashem Echad, there's oneness of Hashem. From that one, there was like a release of in Kabbalistic language, it's called like an adder, like a vapor. Like a small little... You ever heard that the world was created with the letter Hey? You ever heard this idea? Never heard? Okay. This is actually not Kabbalistic, it says in the Talmud. That the world is kind of like, hey, is like that. It's the beginning of all sound. That's like that first vapor, the first sort of the infinite singularity released a tiny little dot. Does it make any sense to you?
Yeah.
You follow?
That's why it's called ahava.
That's
The
correct.
only word in Hebrew that you give twice the ha.
Ha. Some people ha. Ahava actually is the same numeric value as echad. Correct.
One.
One. Unity. So it starts with like a tiny little... By the way, I want to tell you something very funny. It's actually funny. It's really funny. If you're not going to laugh, I'm going to tell you should laugh. You're laughing already, I don't have to tell you. There was a Kabbalist called the Emek HaMelech. The Emek HaMelech says that what caused that vapor, what caused that little dot to emerge? Some Yisrael says it's an aleph, whatever, but it's something like a certain dot that emerged. He said what caused that was a divine laugh. He says, imagine you're standing still, or you're sitting upright, yeah, and your body is straight. Okay, that's like echad. Your body is unified, and there's no movement. You're standing very still. Someone says a joke, and you get your body like chuckles. It gives like a ripple. All of a sudden, there's a curvature in your stomach if you're a little heavier, and that empty space is where creation began. What was the laughter? Hashem laughed because he saw us. These guys, aha, that's funny. Okay, maybe it's actually worth it. And that was so the whole world is based on a divine joke. Hashem saw the joke, and he laughed. He said, "I have a lot of enjoyment from this cosmic joke, from these crazy little people. But it gives me enjoyment." So he laughed. So the Hasidic Ashkenaz and some of the philosophers at that time write that the world starts in a kav, nekuda kav shetach. Now, just think like this. Did anyone ever hear about 4 worlds? If you didn't hear, you don't have to hear. You all heard about it?
Rabbi taught us.
Good. Rabbi's doing a good job. Excellent job. So, if all of creation emerges from the dot that becomes a line, that becomes surface, that becomes space, that becomes consciousness. So the question is, if you want to relate to like the source, you want to get to the highest place, right? You want to live a spiritual, elevated life. What is going to be your relationship to this material world? If you say everything is a cause and effect, that the kav, the point created the line created the surface created the space, and you're living in the place of time and space. What you're going to think, and this is the way you should think, that if this is the process of the devolution of creation, if you want to evolve yourself, you want to evolve your consciousness, what you have to do is go back up. less surface, line, dot. You become a dot, and you transcend your material, your physical needs. The more you transcend your physical and spiritual physical needs, the more transcendent you become, the more you closer get to the dot. You get to the dot, you become ayin, and you're connected to the Ein Sof, the infinite light. So how do you practice spirituality? It's tough, but this is what's done in the 1200s. What do? They said simply, I mean, not that their life was any much better, so it's like not like they can sit in the air conditioner, in the heat. So in the summer, they would go into the forest, and they would lie down and allow the insects to bite on them. In the winter, when it got cold, they went to the ponds, the snow, and they rolled in the snow. Beautiful shelling. Why did they do that? Because they felt that the more they're embodied and closer to their body, the more they're distanced from the source. So they're going to transcend their body. Eat less, fast more, try to stay awake for longer periods of time, not giving in to any needs of the body. And the more you transcend the body, the more you connect to the world of spirit.
What period of time is that?
This is the 11, 12, almost 1300s. And it was literally the Dark Ages. And then came the teachings of the Arizal. What did Arizal teach? You see, this is one of the interesting things about Hasidism and Kabbalah. You can't trace. All the great teachers cannot be traced. Their teachings cannot be traced. Normally you'd say, this philosopher is based on an earlier philosopher. So you'll say, Aristotle is based on Plato. Plato is based on Socrates. Socrates is based on Pythagoras. You can always say, this guy's teacher, and this guy evolved and made his teachings further. Who's the teacher of the Arizal? Who? Pare? Who? No, Yosef Karo was a contemporary of Dari. He wasn't the teacher of Dari. There's nothing in the Ari says that says in Yosef Karo. The teacher of the Arizal was Eliyahu. Elijah the prophet. What that means is for another conversation. But let's just hold it off for a second. Which means there's no way to trace the teachings of the Ari. There is a chiddush. There is a new oil, a new light came into this world that was revealed through the teachings of the Ari. The Arizal was not from this world, like we said before, in the name of the Alter Rebbe. He was not from this world. From another dimension. And the Arizal revealed, which you said, the idea of Tzimtzum. What does Tzimtzum say? Tzimtzum says that the infinite light, in order to create finite, to create vessels, to create the sphere, to create all the structure of spiritual reality and physical reality, there was a Tzimtzum. There was a contraction. The infinite light said it wants to withdraw its own light, to leave space for finitude to emerge. Which means, if you translate that into your personal life, it's very different than the other paradigm. In the other paradigm, if you want to connect to something that's higher, you have to become less and less and less, physically. Here we're saying that there's actually an intentionality. The infinite light actually had to do something proactive to create. Had to do something against its own self. So there must be value to the thing that was being created. Your following? It wasn't just there's an intention to be created. There must be that the infinite light had something even greater to reveal by creating the physical world. So what the teachings of the Arizal revealed in this world was that everything that you do could be l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. This is one of the big revealings of the Ari, which he spoke about sparks. You ever heard of the idea of Tzimtzum? Sparks? which the Arizal said that there are sparks throughout the world, divine sparks throughout everything. And just like there was just a scattering of Jews, there was an exile of Jews from Spain, and Jews all of a sudden became scattered. They lived close to 1,500 years in Spain. That was the main center of Judaism for so many years. And all of a sudden Jews were dispersed. They moved to Amsterdam, they moved to Turkey, to Bulgaria, they moved all around the world. Eventually to Poland and then to Russia. This dispersion, this gullus, this exile of Klal Yisrael, the people of Israel throughout the entire world, the Arizal said that there's a reason. The reason why you're going into Poland, the reason why you're going to Russia, the reason why you're going to Amsterdam is because there's divine sparks that are latent, that are dormant there, and the task of a Jew is to come to those places, say a blessing, connect to Hashem, do a mitzvah, and through that elevate those sparks. So the relationship to the world is l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. You got this next point? Some of you didn't even answer the question, so maybe I'll just say it in French.
So, Rabbi,
Yes.
So this philosophy or point from which we're supposed to live Hashem,
Yeah.
it did not exist.
That's correct. That's correct.
Wow.
That is correct. Because Hashem wanted there should be, as human consciousness is evolving, our spiritual consciousness has to evolve as well. There's a new revelation of divinity in this world. It's not only that we didn't understand it. We can even say deeper, it actually wasn't true until that time. I know it's a little paradoxical to say that, and it's counterintuitive. Until the time of the Arizal, creation was created the way the Ramban understood creation. And when the Arizal came and revealed, a new type of creation was being revealed. Because creation is continuous. It's not that the Arizal revealed a new teaching. When the Arizal came down to this world, a new teaching was revealed. A new way, not only did he explain how the world works, but a new way how the world works is actually revealed.
Is it correct for me then to think of him as a prophet?
Absolutely. At heart, and a prophet. But not a prophet in a classical sense. But certainly there's not a question. And then along came, which brings us to this day, almost to this day. Then came along the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem revealed a new light, which this light, the beginning of Torah's Hasidism, is the light of Mashiach already. Why is it the light of Mashiach? The Baal Shem Tov came along and revealed like this. That the entire idea, so the Arizal talks in the mashal, in the metaphor, doesn't explain what the nimshal is, what the interpretation of the nimshal is. The Baal Shem Tov only talks about the nimshal. You don't have writings of the Baal Shem that talk about the mashal of the Ari, the metaphor of the Ari. It's intentional. Baal Shem was Tafka didn't want to talk about the mashal of the Ari. He only talked about the nimshal. We're going to soon get to the Alter Rebbe to understand why we're here. Is everyone following me up until this point? It's a very educated, intelligent crowd here.
Thanks to Rabbi.
Thanks to the Rabbi. I think it's also thanks to the Rebbe in the middle. Yeah. The Baal Shem revealed a new light. Again, not only he revealed a new light, the new light was revealed through the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov talked. He didn't use this language because he was not interested in the mashal. But in a way to understand it is that the Baal Shem Tov taught that Tzimtzum is not literal. Tzimtzum, the contraction of the infinite light, is perceptual. It's actually not real. It's just our perception. The fact that the infinite light would withdraw within itself to allow for finite to be created is just the way we perceive the world. And the truth is, there is no separation. There is no separation. this world is actually infinite, and it's completely one with God. Maybe we don't see it yet. Maybe we don't live it. Certainly we don't. But this is the truth. And therefore, the way we relate to spirituality, the way we relate to Hashem, is not that that the physicality is a means to an end. It's not l'shem shamayim. You're eating the potato kugel. I don't know, potato kugel is like the best muscle. You're eating the steak. I don't know if steak is. I don't know where. I don't know which crowd this is. The alfalfa sprouts. I don't know what you're eating. Huh? Depends which crowd. The Hasidic crowd is probably cholent, the yatchik. Here it's probably something else. The idea is l'shem that that everything that you do, you should know Hashem. You're not doing it for a means to an end, but this itself is the end. You can be connected to Hashem through eating pizza. Not because the pizza gives you strength that you can later put on film. That's true. It will give you strength and you can be a good Jew and practice Judaism. But the eating the food itself is an opportunity to connect with God. Because there actually is no separation between the Creator and creation. It's all our perception. This was the nimshal. This was the interpretation of the teachings of the Ari that was revealed through the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov actually asked Arizal. How could he ask the Arizal hundreds of years later? That's for another time. He asked the Arizal, how come you didn't reveal the nimshal? Why did you reveal the interpretation of what you said? He said, because I died 2 years too early. Because he died at 38, and if he would have died at 40, he would have revealed the nimshal, and Mashiach would have came. But we're still in the process, we're getting there. The Alter Rebbe is the first person to reveal a new light. What was the light that the Alter Rebbe revealed? On one hand, he's a continuation of the Baal Shem Tov. But the Alter Rebbe did two things. He's the first person that opened up a weight, and he writes this clearly in his letters in the Gersa Kodesh. He's the first person to explain the mashal of the Arizal, the metaphor of the Ari, according to the nimshal of the Baal Shem Tov. He's the first person to marry heaven and earth. The Arizal was beyond the world, the Baal Shem Tov was in the world. And the Alter Rebbe was the first one that was able to bridge that gap and to reveal these two teachings, the mashal in the nimshal, and the nimshal in the mashal, to bring the metaphor into practical life, and the practical life into the mashal. And the foundation of this is in the conceptual idea. And the practicality of the idea is he created Torah Hasidis. He created a learning of Hasidus. Which means, in the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, it's pure oil, it's pure light. The Baal Shem Tov, I don't have the right word, but the Baal Shem Tov talks in Hafshata. Hafshata is like delicate, cerebral, detached philosophical constructs. You need a lot of light to see the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, to see the light. The Alter Rebbe talked the language of philosophy, logic. You open up the Tanya, it's like the first book, we're not allowed to say this, because we shouldn't reduce it to this, but it's spiritual psychology, the first book of Tanya. And the second book of Tanya, Shaykh Muna, is spiritual cosmology. It's basically telling how we work, what's the definition of human being, different souls that we have, and how does it work, and how do we have to do challenges with ourselves. And the second part talks about the cosmic level. He's taking the light of the Ari, the teachings of the Ari, and giving it a philosophical construct, the way we can actually meditate and think about it. And this was on a conceptual level, at an intellectual level. but it didn't end there. It didn't end there. It couldn't have ended there. So we have to talk further. We have to sing something and Chaim.
No one knows the name.
So it gets deeper and deeper. The understanding of the Achdus Hashem. Talks about
Roy came closer. Roy, you came closer. It's good.
That's what music does.
So whereas in the Torah Sari, the teachings of Arizal, it talks about Yechudim, to create different unifications of Hashem's names. And all the Yechudim of the Ari, very complicated, deep, mystical, Kabbalistic intentions, they're all related to either tefillah, prayer, that's the main embodiment of the teaching of the Ari, or connected to a certain particular mitzvot, certain actions that we do, commandments, mitzvahs, or connected to the type of asagas. Asagas is like types of deeper intuition, to open up the mind to and consciousness and deeper intuition. And the Baal Shem talks about Yechudim, unification, very, very simple things. Even going to the bathroom. Everything, every single thing in this world is an opportunity to think about Hashem and to connect. Not that it's a means to an end, but it can be an end in itself. And Alter Rebbe revealed that also our seichel, also our intelligence, it's not that faith is absence of intelligence, and we have faith. You believe, I see the oil, you're experiencing it. Maybe you have dveikus, connectivity, and emunah, betachon, but it's not logical. And Alter Rebbe wanted to say no. That if we have to bring down the Achdus Hashem, the oneness of Hashem, it has to be permeated into consciousness, into intellectual consciousness. That actually has to make sense. That the way we think about this world has to be different. The way we process information has to be different. We're sitting in a Chabad house, and this is another step closer to Mashiach. All the previous Chabad Rebbes, up until the Rebbe, started a little bit even with the Alter Rebbe, and it developed and evolved. But the main thrust of their teachings was to explain through seichel, through intelligence, the Achdus Hashem. And there's thousands of svarim, thousands of books that are written really to get to that place where you actually understand the unity of Hashem in this world. That your mind completely understands this process. Some people that observe, we'll call them scholars, that observe the evolution or the processes of the Chabad Rebbes, don't really understand, or it's hard to understand how the Rebbe really fits into the Chabad lineage. Why? Because all the early Chabad Rebbes were focused more in an internal life, in the life of a chassid, the life of a disciple's internal life, how they have to develop, evolve inwardly to feel more connected, and more dveikus, and more connectivity to Hashem. And the whole teachings was how to get the chassid to work, the disciple to work in his or her inner life to feel connectivity. And then the Rebbe came around and sent Chabad shluchim around the world, like here in Fort Lee. And I can guess, I can't tell you for sure, I would guess that a large chunk of the day, the rabbi is not spending meditating on Hasidic text. I can guess. It could be I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But schlepping microphones, setting up tables, worrying about mortgages, making sure the lights are on. How does this fit into Chabad? Chabad is, Chabad, you know what Chabad means, right? Chabad is Chachma Bin Adas. We just said that the Alter Rebbe, the Chiddush, the novelty of the Alter Rebbe was that he explained the metaphor of the Arizal in detail according to the interpretation of the Baal Shem. That's why he has very, very deep, elaborate Hasidism teachings that you can sit and meditate on it your whole life. I had grandfathers that sat every day for 6 hours and meditated on Hasidus. I don't know how they fed the family, but that's another question. But I remember when he was older, so maybe it was different when he was younger, but I would assume that wasn't. Then he would wake up in the morning and he would sit and learn and meditate on Hasidic text for 5-6 hours every day before he started praying. Then he would pray for 2-3 hours, and by 3 o'clock he would come home. This happened for 50 years with us every day. He had a very rich internal life. He thought a lot about himself. He thought about his connection to God. He wasn't schlepping microphones. And he wasn't worried about mortgages. And certainly he wasn't living in Fort Lee. That I guarantee you. He was living in a shtetl. Okay, so sometimes the shtetl moved around because they had to leave Russia. But he lived in his own little world. It's not really a true depiction of my grandfather. I must tell you that my grandfather was a very, very engaged person in this world. He didn't speak a word of English. He had a very long white beard. And he pravad golos for many years in America. There's an old Kabbalistic practice where holy men, prava means practice, exile. Practice exile means you go to, today probably you go to the airport, but then you used to go to Grand Central Station, and you used to say, hold on 1 second, let me open my wallet, $34.28. Where could I go with a bus for $34.28? Nebraska. Okay, that's where I'm going. And that's what he did. He would travel around America alone. No cell phone, no English, no money, no food. Exile. And he used to roam the country for years. There's thousands of people that got closer to Yiddishkeit because of him. Because he met people randomly in the street. I don't know why I'm telling you a story, but I'll tell you 2 funny stories of my grandfather. And then remind me to get to why Mayor's sitting in Fort Lee. One story is like this. My grandfather was in San Francisco. An uncle that used to be a Chabad Shliach there. And my grandfather was already in his 70s. And my uncle was worried for him. He said, Ta, you have a ticket or to go to, I think it was Nebraska. Where are you going to sleep? What are you going to do? Who's going to take care of you? No. I said, no, I can't. Tell me, is someone going to pick you up from the train or from the bus? My grandfather was like, actually, yeah. Said, who in Nebraska is picking you up? My grandfather was going to tell him. Finally, he says, you know what? It's a guy. His name is John Paul, what else? MacArthur. Definitely a Jewish name. He says, John Paul MacArthur is picking you up. What do you have with... My grandfather's very uncomfortable with the story. He says, give me the number, I must call this guy. Maybe this guy's kidnapping you. He calls up this guy, who's non-Jew, and he says, is it true that you're picking up a Jew called Rav My grandfather was a real Hasidic Jew with a long white beard and a holy Jew. He said, yeah. He had a southern accent. I don't know if Nebraska is speaking a southern accent. We'll put him on a southern accent. And he said, yeah, picking the guy out. He said, why? So I'll tell you the truth. A few years ago, I was walking down the street, and I see Jesus. I should say this. That's what he said. He said, I saw a Jew that looked like, I'm walking in the middle of Nebraska. That's such a thing in my life. I walked over. I didn't know what this person is. I didn't know. I said, who are you? So my grandfather spoke very broken English. He said, I'm a Jew. He said he never met a Jew in his life. He thought this is the way Jews look like. And he says, he tells my grandfather had very kind eyes. He tells my grandfather, what are you doing here? He was very, don't want to tell him anyway. And then he says, I see that you're a holy man. And I'm married already for 10 years. I don't have children. And maybe you can give me a blessing. You look very holy. Maybe give me a blessing. I should have a child. So my grandfather said, yes, you have a very big blessing. This time next year you're going to have a boy. A year later, he has a boy. So he does a little research to find out who this man is. Finds out from there's a small Jewish community. My grandfather used to sleep in the shul. I don't know exactly where, one of the shuls. He found out who it was, and he baited his thing that every time he comes to town, he's a chaperone. He drives him around, takes him around. That's one story. The next story, you probably heard these stories, but the next story is, I heard the story again from a witness that witnessed the story. There are two boys learning in Los Angeles, in yeshiva, and they get the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the school, calls them over. They're 18, 19-year-old boys, and tell them they have to go to a certain address because their Bavram Mayar, my grandfather, is stuck in this little town, and he's stuck. At some point, I guess, he ran out of money, and there's no buses, and he's in there. That's it. So he called the yeshiva, please help me. Someone to help me save me. So these two boys thought it was a very big honor. So they took the car, they drove to this little town, a few hours out of Los Angeles. They come to this town, and it's like a tiny little rundown hick town. And they stop in the street, everyone's missing teeth there. It's really the hicks. And they said, I don't know his address, because we have an address, you have to pick up somebody. They were a little scared. They said, yeah, that's actually the bar. The address is the bar. So, address is the bar. You go to the bar. The bar is like in the outskirts of town. As they're getting closer to the bar, they hear Hasidic singing from the bar. What's going on? They couldn't figure out what's going on. Coming to the bar, they see my grandfather sitting by a table. My grandpa had a long beard, and all the hillbillies had long beards. And they had big shots on l'chaim, and they were singing Hasidic songs. So getting back to Meir, unfortunately. So the truth is, this is the nukudah, this is the point. The point is that just like Achdus, the unity of Hashem, has to be experienced on a nefesh level, an internal level, to recognize the wholesomeness, the oneness, the unity within our consciousness. And we have to recognize the Achdus Hashem, the unity of Hashem in our intellect. What the Rebbe did, the Rebbe was Malchus. What the Rebbe did was, he translated the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, the Kislev of the Baal Shem Tov, into practical, physical reality. Not conceptual, not intellectual, in practical life. What the Chiddush is of Shulchan and Chabad all around the world is basically saying that from now on, there's a new type of Achdus Hashem that's being revealed in the world. And from now on, there's no such place that a Jew doesn't belong. If a Jew represents the Am Echad, the Goyach Haaretz, the unity of Hashem in this world, there's no place in the world that a Jew should ever go that you should not feel comfortable being a Jew there. This is a revealing of the Achdus Hashem in space. That a Jew, wherever they go, if they're walking in Fort Lee, or they're walking in Crown Heights, or Yerushalayim, or Berlin, or Amsterdam, or Hong Kong, wherever a Jew goes, not only should they be proud to look like a Jew, to act like a Jew, to show themselves as a Jew, but they should recognize, I'm going to say this, it's going to sound a little funny, but you have to, we need delicate gloves to understand this. The whole Tachlis of Bria it's not that if you're a Jew and you're walking with a yarmulke in Hong Kong, or if you're a Jewish woman and you're proud to be a Jewish woman walking in Hong Kong, doesn't mean only that you belong there, but you are the reason that Hong Kong exists. And this is the truth. This is all, the reason why there's a Hong Kong and the reason why there is a world is so we should express Hashem Echad. Not that Hashem Echad is expressed in the world. The reason why there's a world, the tachlis of the creation of the world, is Hashem's presence should be revealed in the world. Not the tachlis that people should have money and big cars. The tachlis is that it should be Hashem's presence being revealed in this world. But because Hashem's presence has to be revealed in this world, we actually need a world. So what's first and what's secondary? Primary is the Achdus Hashem. Secondary is what you're looking at. You shouldn't ever feel like a foreigner in any place. You shouldn't feel like a gay. You shouldn't feel like you don't belong in this place. Not only don't you belong in this place, the whole place was created for you to be there. The reason why there is in America is for Jews to be in America and practice Yiddishkeit.
So how do you deal with Mars, the new frontier?
The what?
Mars, the new frontier.
We'll get to Mars. We'll talk about Mars. We have problems on this world.
Rabbi, please correct my misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a lot of it. Not surprising. But my understanding was that there is a job for every people in the world.
You're right.
It's very hard for me to close my eyes on a billion and a half of Chinese.
Don't worry, listen.
And assume that they don't have a special...
No. Listen.
So I would like to think that Bangkok would exist without... It's just perhaps I have a special job.
No. First of all, I want to say this. Is anyone from China?
Just me.
God willing, when we'll talk in China, there's a conversation for Chinese too. We're talking to Jews, so we have to talk to Jews. Of course, everyone is created for a purpose. You know what the problem with Jews is? There's a lot of problems with Jews.
There's a lot of problems.
Yes. One of the problems with Jews is... What? You know when you tell your child, you have two children, you tell your child that's struggling or not doing well in school, you tell this child, I just want to tell you, you are my most beloved child, you're the most special child in the world, you're an amazing child. And the child says, it's not true, you say the same thing about my little brother. What's the problem with that? It's not that it's not true. The little brother has a place too. But when the father is talking to the child just has to hear what the father is saying. And they have to believe in it. And every person has to believe in it. Starting with you. The moment you don't believe in it, and you say what the other person is, then you don't take full responsibility. A person has to say, Bishvili nivro elam. Not Bishvilu, Bishvili, the world was created for me. The world was created for me. The other person says the exact same thing, because it's also true for him.
But my understanding, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the world was created for me to enjoy.
Yes.
As well as for her.
Yeah, no, just forget about
For
her.
everybody.
Yes, of course. But forget about her for a second.
In my mind, it's very different to say that Hong Kong would not exist if not for you.
Nothing would exist without
This
you.
is a little difficult to swallow.
It's quantum mechanics, by the way. You know, it's quantum mechanics. You don't have to become so spiritual. The moment you walk out of the room collapses. You know that?
That's not what quantum mechanics says, with all due respect. I have some knowledge of quantum.
That's very good that you have knowledge. Would you?
That's not what quantum mechanics says.
I don't care if quantum mechanics says that. I just want to give you a metaphor of something. The point is, just like with a child, and we have to listen to this very carefully. When you tell your child you're special, what does a child have to think? That he is special. Not start thinking that the other person is also special. It doesn't mean that the old person is not special.
But it's different from saying your brother wouldn't exist if it were not for you.
What do you mean? We're not talking about your brother. We're not even talking about your brother. We're just talking about you. Stop thinking about another. Bishvili midivra means that a person has to believe that the whole creation, from the beginning of time until this present moment, was created for you. And you have to think the same thing, and you have to think the exact same thing. Because we don't believe in our specialty. We don't want to believe because it's too much responsibility. Imagine you really believe that the whole creation is dependent on you. What your thoughts are going to do tonight, the words you're going to speak today, the actions you're going to do is going to affect the entire cosmos. No one wants to believe that. It's easier to say, and the other person too.
I have no problem with that.
So then believe it. That's
I
it.
do have a problem that if I die tomorrow, the world will not go to hell, without me personally.
When
Taking the weight off the shoulders.
I somehow it's difficult for me to imagine that Hong Kong would stop.
I didn't say Hong Kong would stop existing. I said that the tachlis, the purpose of the existence of Hong Kong is for you. It's not only Hong Kong. The purpose of the existence of the whole world is for you. And every person has to say that. To believe that we have the ability to change the whole world. And Hashem is waiting for us, for me and you, to change the whole world by our thoughts, by our actions. People, it's easier to believe in our smallness than our greatness. Because smallness, if I think I have a mediocre life, I waste my time. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say a person has a strong drive to make money. They're crazy about money. Everything they do, they think about money. Or another person has a strong drive to become a psychologist. I don't know. This a very strong drive. A person that lives with a strong drive for something doesn't waste time. You call it one-dimensional, but they don't waste time. They don't have time to watch the Jets. Why? Because how are they making money watching the football game? Because if I have to make money, if I have to feel that my tachlis is to make money, I want to make money 24/7. And the same thing is also with in spiritual work. If you believe clearly that your tachlis of your life is to be great and to affect the whole world, and everything was created and dependent and is waiting for you, you wouldn't waste the one moment. Not one thought. You would never be unkind to one person. You would never have a negative thought. You do always every single mitzvah to the utmost. This is what the idea is. This concept of the achdus that we have to live with has to be revealed in all of space. And in space means wherever you go, you shouldn't ever feel, I don't belong here. Of course, they have that same narrative. They should also think that way. But we're talking about you. When you go somewhere, you should never say, I, as a Jew, don't feel comfortable in this place. Now, of course, if they're coming to kill you, it's another conversation. But if we're going down a street and you feel like you have to hide your Jewish identity because you're not proud of being a Jew, you're not proud of being Hashem's ambassador to this world, to reveal the Achdus Hashem, the oneness of Hashem in this world, then you're not living with Achdus. You're not living truly with real unity. And we want to celebrate Yud-Tes Kislev I want to celebrate that it's a Rosh Hashanah for Hasidus, that it's a day of renewal and revealing of higher divine light into this world. It's not just a conceptual, philosophical, nice thing. Okay, in theory, it makes a lot of sense. It's a nice thing. It's how we live as people. How we think, how we walk in the street, how we interact with people, how it's been between man and man, and how we live our lives. This is the way the vision of Achdus Hashem is lived in real space. In the way we have space today. And this is what we have to think about. When we think about Kabbalistic ideas and lofty ideas, the lofty ideas, it comes further down and further down and further down until it comes into actual real life. We have to live it, not think about it only. Not only can understand it on a nefeshlik level, on our psyche level, but actually live it in real space, in real time. How we live as people, how we live as Jews. This is the godless, this is the Achdus Hashem that the Baal Shem revealed. And it's revealed to Torah Chassidus. That's not you're a Jew in your home. You're a Jew when you're studying. You're a Jew when you're meditating. You're a Jew when you're learning. You're a Jew and you're connected to Hashem in every single thing you do. You walk down the street, that's an opportunity to make a Kiddush Hashem, to sanctify Hashem's name, to reveal Achdus Hashem in this world. When someone sees you, they should say, wow, that's how a Jew acts. That's how a Jew thinks. That's how a Jew feels. That's what we reveal unity in this world. We reveal Achdus Hashem in this world. This is our task. So it's a big night. It's a Rosh Hashanah, which means that it's an opening. An opening means that it gives us strength to continue. So Hashem should give us the strength, Taka, that we should draw down all the light that's revealed in this Kislev with our own lives. Really, Hashem, Bakal Hashem, Shemayim, Baram,
Peter, I just want to help you with one thing, if you don't mind.
Please, I need all the help I can get.
I just want to help you with a little small analogy. When you go to a hotel, when you walk into a hotel to take your room in a hotel, a fancy hotel, the fanciest hotel you can imagine. When you walk in, do you know how they treat you? You know how they're supposed to, you know how they're trained to treat you? Like the entire hotel is waiting for you to leave. When you walk into a hotel, they train the lady behind the desk that when you walk in, this entire hotel was created for your presence. And if you're not satisfied, the entire hotel doesn't exist. Now, if you walk into the hotel feeling like you don't belong there, you know how they're going to treat you? They'll give you a room. But if you walk in the way they are trained to treat you, then they will not only treat you well, but your experience will be incredible. And if you think the same way about the world, if you look at the world is kind enough to let you walk down the street, and you're walking down the street, and you're apologizing for your presence, then you will compromise on what's pivotal to your life. But if you will realize that that street was trained spiritually to treat you like its existence was for your moment walking down the street, you will not need to compromise on anything. You will be the proudest Jew at that moment. And that's what the rabbi said, that Hong Kong, when you walk down the street, Hong Kong is waiting for you to walk down the street because it is created for your moment walking down the street. Notwithstanding the previous moment of somebody else. But that's how Hong Kong is trained. That's how God creates the environment. And that's what we think about that. We will not be apologetic as a Jew. We will not be defending our existence. We'll be sharing our greatness with the world, and they will respect us for who we are.
Everything started from that dot. That was the Big Bang. We reincarnate over and over again. It's the object to get back into the dot.
The object is to create a multi-dimensional picture that's unified. Not to disappear.
But you're not disappearing.
You're becoming as the potential. You have to be the action. All the actuals that ever lived will return back as unity.
Rabbi, thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
L'chaim.
If everything started from the Big Bang,
Well, it started really from before the Big Bang.
that's what the rabbis said.
Everything evolved. The point is to get back into the oneness of God.
You know, there was a universe before this universe.
Spiritual realm.
No, an actual universe. It lasted just a moment and it collapsed.
That's a spiritual reality.
I happen to be a scientist.
Oh.
And I only learned about the Kabbalah very recently, and I was drawn into it. Now I know nothing.
You're a scientist still, President?
PhD in chemistry. So when I retired 18 years ago, I discovered quantum mechanics. And what amazed me was the Kabbalah is the blueprint of the universe. I would say that the singularity that exploded was the blueprint of the universe. I think they're the same.
Same thing. Singularity works like this. There's a singularity, then it multiplies into different dualities, and it multiplies into a trillion different things. The objective of creation is every single individual expression should be connected with that individual singularity. Which means that now, all these trillions of different things are actually separate, apparently separate from each other. Even though there's entanglement, they are interconnected, it doesn't sound observable. The purpose of creation is that every single individual unit recognizes that they're part of one big system.
And the way I explain that scientifically, and this I came up with on my own, what exploded was like a quantum computer. It was, when it exploded, it had all the laws of nature in it. And we're a product of that explosion. You are a product, I am a product, everybody in this room. We have a little bit of that original quantum computer in us. That's called consciousness. So God is within us, right? And I say through meditation. The other thing I'm interested in is Buddhism.
Are you a reader?
Limited. I get a lot of information from television. But 1 second. I only watch educational programs, as much science as I can. To give you an idea, if there was a great science program on tonight, I knew...
היום 3 משפטים שלא הבנתי באנגלית. לא, אבל כי לא הבנתי את הרעיון העיקרי. אבל אני אחפש אותך ביוטיוב. כי אני מאמינה שיש מאוד אהבתי את המדיטציה שלך. מאוד אהבתי. והלוואי והשם ייתן לי לעשות. תודה רבה וחג שמח.
Did you see that?
So the point is, if there was a great science program on quantum mechanics tonight, I knew this should be good. I'm amazed at your intelligence.
His name is Shlomo.
How long did you study in the yeshiva? How many years? 30?
I still study.
No, but when you were to become a rabbi.
It's not so hard. Rabbi's not so hard. Rabbi's only a few years.
See, I see the object. Did you make it clear? Is to return to the singularity.
Is the return, but with the multi-dimensionality. That's Buddhism. Return to singularity, but this Judaism is different. Kabbalah is different. Kabbalah recognizes the inherent value of multiplicity within the context of individuality, of singularity.
I see that your grandfather was your real Christian king.
Exactly.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
But
Alonso.
That's right, that scene where he sees the Amen. Do you remember any of your previous lives?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
And basically, you continue.
And another expression. Each life is another dimension. Each life is another. I wrote many books on this topic.
You wrote?
Yeah, many. Like 35 books.
We're all a manifestation. Everything in the universe is a manifestation. You would call it Hashem, and I would call it consciousness. Are the two the same?
On some level. Not fully, but on some level. So again, it's more a Buddhist idea because in Buddhism, they don't believe in a transcendent God. They don't believe in the immediacy of God.
They don't believe in God at all.
Right. Which means they believe in consciousness. They believe in a singularity. They don't believe that's a higher power. Judaism, we believe that there's both. This divine aspect that's higher, and divine aspect is vested in creation. Two different forces.
Why was there a Holocaust?
What's that?
Why was there a Holocaust?
I think it's a chutzpah to answer that question. I think it's a chutzpah to answer that question. It's insensitive.
I'll ask you another question. Why is there suffering in the world?
Again, the moment you give an answer to something, you give it a justification. You're not allowed to justify evil.
Could suffering be the only way we grow?
You could say it only about yourself. You could say the reason why I suffer is to grow, but you're never allowed to say it about somebody else. That's insensitive.
Oh, we're all the same.
Yeah, but on that level you're not. Because when you tell another person that's going through suffering, or you're suffering to grow, that's insensitive. only about ourselves. We have to think about ourselves in our own lives. Why do we suffer? Why do we struggle?
Let me ask you, do you suffer? And then why do you suffer?
That I would agree. It's for growth. No question.
And that's the only way we grow. So it's a very heavy price to pay to be alive.
The Talmud says that it's difficult to be alive.
It's an understatement. Somebody said,
There was someone that once asked, someone once wrote a letter to the Alter Rebbe, telling them they have a lot of hardships in their life and this one or that. And the Rebbe answered them, since when did you make a contract with God that your life is going to be easy?
there's another way to put that. It says, man plans, God laughs.
Men tracht and God lacht.
Thank you for coming.
You live here around this area.
I live in Farbrengen. And the amazing thing, I was never been
No?
I don't know one word of Hebrew.
Where were you born? You were born in Fort Lee?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
And you never know one word of Hebrew?
I never got the mitzvah.
Where is your father from? Also from this country?
Well, yeah, from Russia.
From where in Russia?
Minsk, I think. And my mother didn't think I couldn't handle the secular studies and the Hebrew studies. Now my grandfather was very religious.
You remember it?
Yes. Yeah. And usually it's 3 years to get the mitzvah.
You can get bar mitzvah now. Why? You never had a mitzvah?
No, the rabbi bar mitzvah, but I didn't consider it bar mitzvah.
Why don't you make a mitzvah now, right now?
We can do the brush right now. Come on.
You can do everything. Upstream, bris, we do the whole
It's
thing.
never too late. Yeah, I stop being a stick.
But you know the interesting thing is that I've always found God. I didn't know the word.
You have to strike
And
the
I told the
other
rabbi, whatever success I had in my life, but I'm trying to understand what really got me was that the grand rabbi, he was a scientist, a mathematician, and an engineer. And the interesting thing, he didn't apparently find any conflict with.
There's no conflict. There's only one. Only one God.
Conflict between science.
There's no conflict. There can be a conflict now.
What is your goal?
What?
What is your goal?
To reveal Hashem's presence in the world.
The thing that I don't understand, the Hasidics usually have large festivals. It would be easier to reach what I call the unity with God by doing it alone.
That's what we spoke about this whole evening. That we have to live it in real space, in real time. Not in a meditative state. That's not Jewish. Hashem has to be lived in real space. With a family, with children, with going to the bathroom, with diapers.
But doesn't all of that lead to distraction?
Or not. There was a great tzaddik called the Baal Shem. The Baal Shem said like this, that when he was younger, and he would walk down the street, and he would see a person, and he would have to stop to talk to him, he would think that it's a distraction. Then became a little more mature, he realized that he can include that also in his connection.
There's a special type of meditation where you you wrote about it. You include everything in it. Yeah. What it's called? There's a name for it.
He's forgiving me what's going on things. It's a very complex issue, and so it's not sometimes easy to understand.
Jews have this problem.
But it's a very powerful man's message that he brought us, and it was illuminating to hear the history of Kabbalah. I learned a lot. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for coming and for your wisdom.
Why Farley was created was for us to know that one thing. So it's already problematic to say that there's no God because it never said nothing against the purpose of creation. It's a subtle difference in the reason why God created either one is bringing out a meaning, a particular meaning, and one is saying, oh, we want to become holy according to what? Whose holiness are we receiving? Right? God is the bequeaths us His holiness, so we do His mitzvahs. But if I'm not connected to God, I'm doing His mitzvahs, I'm not receiving holiness from God Himself, I'm receiving holiness, which is not so cool. It's good to know clearly who's giving us the paycheck. We don't know if we're getting it from some random guy. We don't know if we're getting it. We're running a personal thing. Alright, so that means nothing to do with incorporating him into the fabric.
I think what the first thing I like about the Buddha, you realize you have to reject materialism. Jews don't do that.
It's actually like a part of spiritual practice. Part of Jewish spiritual practice is to have moments of emotional reject, but then the higher levels actually include rejection is so unifying. What he was saying to Baal Shem, what Rav Pinson was saying to Baal Shem revealed was that God is also, it's not that physical is a means to a higher end, but physical itself is the means to itself. It is the end itself. At this moment when I'm eating the food, itself is holy. That's a lot holier than Buddha was saying, you know, it shuts out most of the world. It's dots of holiness rather than surface of holiness.
But he had an
multi-billionaires. The cancer, when you
And I have a higher quality.
No, I'm not going to open it. Okay, anyways. The, Nochamal. Rav Shab writes that Yud-Tes Kislev is a day that Oy v'chayis lavsheinu nitan lanu. That the light and the chayas, the vitality, was given to us. What's the difference in light? What's the difference in oir and chayas? There's oir, there's light, and chayas is what? Life. The light and life. So there's really three things. There's really oir, chayas, and koyach. There are three dimensions to everything has three dimensions. It has oir, has light, has chayas, has vitality, and has its koyach. The oir is the light is it's called or makif, like the surrounding light. Surrounding light, or makif, means every single thing that we do, in order to enter it fully, to enter the space, we have to first enter into the oiris makifim. We have to enter into its surrounding lights. Which means before you enter into something in an internal way, you have to first enter into the environment of that idea. Let's say you want to pray, you want to daven. So you can't just, in the middle of the day, turn on and all of a sudden be in the right place. Some people could, but that's because they have very quick makifim. But normally, most people, you have to get into the right environment, get into the right space. Make sure that your oiris makifim is correct. That's why it says in the Talmud, it says in the Gemara, that a person shouldn't pray before they enter two doors. The shear of two doors into one. Oh.
Could you repeat that, please?
I'll repeat it. He knows what two doors.
Maybe you should do it.
There's different opinions how you learn the two doors, so what do you learn? It says that you shouldn't pray, basically, when you come into the shul, firstly, you shouldn't pray by the exit. You shouldn't pray at the edge of the shul. The measurement of two open doors. So let's say a door is 3 feet to 6 feet. So towards the back of the shul, you shouldn't pray. Because it shows like you're like 1 foot out.
So we're not a kosher shul?
Why?
We're not a kosher shul?
Why? The door is much further than 6 feet.
He said you shouldn't pray next to the door.
But you said you need two doors.
No.
He's just saying you gotta
The
be all
measurement-
in. You gotta be all in.
You have to, let's say a
It could
door
be one
opens
door,
up.
but the measurement is
The
two doors.
measurement of two openings of two doors.
Or the measurement of
Correct. Or it means actually how long it takes for a person to walk two doors, a few feet. You shouldn't start when you walk the shul right away. Start on Midah. The reason why you shouldn't do it, it doesn't work.
Actually, the Gemara does say two doors, and the commentaries explain it doesn't actually mean two doors. Then we're disqualified.
Right.
There's always a loop.
No, the Gemara itself means Rashi writes there. Anyways, it means you have to go. You know, if you want to enter Shabbos, some people work till 30 seconds before Shabbos, and Shabbos doesn't work. Your Shabbos is not going to be Shabbos. Correct.
He started at noon.
Correct.
So
It says
for
sure.
That was now understood.
Only Erev Shabbos, you have to know how to transition. You can't just pop into Shabbos. You pop into Shabbos, you want to light. No Geshmak in Shabbos. You don't have the makifim. You don't have the Geshmak. You should tell your wives that they light Shabbos candles, they should always be dressed for Shabbos. You can't light candles and not dress for Shabbos. Because then you're still in the middle of your computer. Okay, Shabbos. Doesn't work that way. I suggest also you shouldn't. Today we have all different forms of mail. You certainly shouldn't look at bills after Chatzos, after midday, after Friday afternoon. You shouldn't open a bill.
And now it's around 11:30, 11:20.
Yeah, not so early. You shouldn't open a bill.
He had the night before.
The mail comes at 4:15, and right the lift bench, and you open up the bill. Then you write
Whenever I
it.
come to the shul on Shabbos, there's a check in the mail. It's amazing. I don't open it until after Shabbos.
Now that you could open. That makes it feel good.
That's the other.
That's the idea of Shabbos. Certainly not to look at emails before Shabbos. You have to give yourself time to transition.
Absolutely. Shut the phone.
Shut the phone, be in a place. Enter Shabbos. That you want to. That's the Oires Makifim. The Baal Shem Tov writes that you can't daven without Oires Makifim. You can't. Or
I don't know if Hebrew, I'm sorry.
Surrounding lights, surrounding energy. You can't pray without surrounding energy. You have to make sure the environment is correct. There was one who mentioned the Ben Ish Chai. You know, the person's not here, right? There was a Sephardic Jew that mentioned the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai says that even when you pray, when you daven Shemona Esrei, before you daven, you should actually look around to see the people that you're davening with.
By the Sephardim, the entering is that's the korbanot. They don't daven without doing korbanot.
I think also over here it's like that, no?
Some of us, yes.
Yes, I do also korbanot.
That's the one I'm talking about.
And
Some of us are the korban before
the
the.
rationale? Why should one look at or motivation? Why should one look at whom you're davening?
Because the Arizal writes, and it says also in the Chabad that before you daven, it says Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvah Saseh, that I accept upon myself the the love of my fellow neighbor. The mitzvah is not to say it. The mitzvah is not to say Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvah Saseh. That's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is actually you should actually practice it. Everyone says in the morning, Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvah Saseh, I accept upon myself to love my fellow neighbor. Hey, shh! Quiet. That's
That's because you know that you talk too much.
There's no such thing. You're in Makabel. You come to shul, you have to be very loving to everybody. Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya. Huh?
There are exceptions to every rule.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want your tefillas, you want your prayers to really ascend. We talked about Achdus. The whole idea is Achdus. The whole point is unity. For prayers to ascend, prayers occurs in the world of duality, the world of speech. But the world of speech is the world of creation through speech, right? Hashem created the world through speech. That's dibur. That's already duality. But we want the tefillas to go. Prayers have to enter the divine mind, as it were, not divine speech, because divine speech created you to be sick, God forbid, or you not to have livelihood, right? That was created through speech. We have to get to the place of the divine machshava, the divine thought. How do you get to the divine thought? You have to stop speaking. Literally, you do actually speak, but you have to stop externalizing, stop differentiating, stop living in the world of separation, and enter into an inner state of unity. You enter in the state of unity, you're entering into the unity of God. You enter the unity of God, you can draw down the blessings into your life. If you're praying in a place of separation, you're hating this person, disliking the other person's bothering you while you're davening, because he's talking too much, and the other kid is pulling on your shirt. Davening too loud.
It never is real prayer, and you can never get to a real place.
It's not possible to have real prayer. You're wasting your time. Might as well be chopping wood. The only way you really have prayer is you're davening with Achdus, you're davening with unity. You have to. That's what prayer is. Prayer means you're living in a place of separation. In the world of separation, I'm sick, I don't have health, this person's sick, the other person doesn't have livelihood, the other person needs a shit up. That's the world of separation. That's the world the way divine light is being penetrated through divine speech. Right? You want to go to the source of that. The source of that is the way it exists within the divine mind. Divine mind is the place of unity. How do you enter the place of unity? Through being unified. You unified yourself below, you enter the world of unity. You don't unify yourself, you're just puppeting words, nothing's happening.
So it's a bit of a paradox.
It is a very big paradox.
Because
speak
prayer
it.
itself, we're asking for things.
Yeah.
So
this is a very long conversation,
Yeah,
but it's a
yes.
very good question. It's a very good question. And the answer is that you go with the intention to ask, but while you're asking, you should be sort of in like a meditative transcendent state. Yeah, that it actually just pours out of you. That you're not conscious and self-aware, that you're actually asking. So in the place of unity, you're creating new vibrations and new realities. That's how you create the prayers. That's how you create new situations. You go from the world of Bria to the world of Atzilus, if you're familiar with these words, or not. And then in Atzilus, which is Ayin, you're able to connect with Dveikus, with the unity, then you're able to create new words through the world of Bria. And then when you're speaking the words, you're actually creating the realities. You're actually creating healing. That's why which Tzaddikim's prayers have the most effect? Not the person that learns the whole day. Not the person that davens. The person that's kindest. The person that has the biggest obvious soul. That's the person whose prayers are answered. That's it. That's the number one criteria. The Sefer Hasidism, which you mentioned before, Yud-Tes Hasid writes that if your prayers are not answered, no, because you probably have some anger against another person or you have some hate. That's why your prayers can never be answered. Because if you want to daven correctly, you have to enter a place of unity. So the Ben Ish Chai says, you have to look around and say, okay, this shmender guy spoke to him 3 months. This guy is bothering me this way. This guy's a Ganav. This guy's all this. But
He was here before.
but together we're davening. The Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya that you should know that if you're in the middle of davening and some person is bothering you, someone's like you're in the middle of the Amidah and it's everything's you're in the right zone and you're really davening and someone's like, okay, new it's the cholent or something, someone's bothering you. He says, include that into the prayer. Realize that Hashem is actually sending you this messenger.
It's a test.
It's a test, so you should be more focused.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. The person's actually giving you is the biggest teacher that you will have.
Gift here.
It stimulates me
It's a giving
to become even more.
There are a lot of gifts here. There are a lot of gifts in Kronheitz too.
That's why I moved to Fort Lee.
Too many gifts and over.
Handles all the gifts.
Everyone is given the exact amount of gifts they need. Wherever you are, we said before, wherever you live, this is where Hashem wants you to live. It's not a coincidence. You live here, you live. Hashem wanted you to live here with these people. That's the end of the story.
Or Hong Kong.
Huh?
Or Hong Kong.
Or Hong Kong, if you want to go to Hong Kong. But it doesn't exist, that's a problem. Until he gets there. When he gets there, it will exist.
It's a line in a song.
The Hong Kong of Mashiach doesn't quite exist yet. That's what's up for us.
That's correct. That's correct. That's absolutely true.
But that's not what
That's absolutely true. So, Oir v'chayis nafshenu.
Is that what it's saying?
Yud-Tes Kislev is the Oir and the Chayis. The Oir is the environment, the makifim, the surrounding light. The Oir, on Yud-Tes Kislev, is the revealing of the Torah, the Baal Shem and the Magid.
I like from
That's the makifim. That's the light that was revealing Yud-Tes Kislev. Yud-Tes Kislev was also the yard side of the Magid of Mezrich, of the Alter Rebbe's teacher. That's the Oir. That's the Oir of Yud-Tes Kislev.
So you're getting gifts right now.
What's that?
He's giving you a gift right now.
You're getting a
You're
gift.
getting gifts from this side.
I don't even hear the gift.
So we're here to help point
Getting
it out
gifts,
for you.
that'll be the new slang, basically.
This is the Oir.
The Or is Makif.
Oir is the
Or
Makiv.
surrounding.
The Oir, the Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov is the Oir Makiv. The Baal Shem Tov revealed in this world a new atmosphere in this world. The Baal Shem Tov brought in this world a new Oir. It's an Oir of Mashiach. The Oir of Mashiach is the place of unity, and that's why the French Enlightenment began and democracy began, and monarchies fell, because the Baal Shem Tov revealed the light of Achdus. No more up and down, no more higher, lower. This is a new revelation of Mashiach. That's what it says. In the Messianic time, it says that no one will teach another person, no man will teach another person, because everyone will know me. We'll have direct access to Hashem. It's no longer higher or lower. That's the place of Mashiach. This is the beginning of the Baal Shem.
Then huge.
The Baal Shem once said, there's a metaphor, it's brought down in Tzimtzum, actually last week's Parsha, 2 weeks ago's Parsha, that there was, they once asked the Baal Shem Tov, what is a Rebbe? What is a Rebbe? If you know a little of the history of Hasidus, the Baal Shem Tov was not really a Rebbe the way the Rebbes became. Baal Shem Tov was more like a Rosh Chabura, the head of the Chabura, of the group of people. Mashpia. So they asked Baal Shem Tov, so what is the Rebbe? What's the position of the Rebbe? So he brought down a metaphor from that the Medrash Tanchuma brings down with regards to prayer. It says like this: there was once, if you're ever in safari, to be zoichet to see a safari, and you see wild animals, you know that the lion is the king of the
Jungle.
of the jungle. Safari is not a jungle. It's a different savannah. It's a savannah.
I don't understand the Havdalah.
You have to be magdir correctly. Jungle is jungle. Gorillas are in the jungle. Tigers are in the jungle. That's correct. Lions are not in the jungle.
Wow, I didn't know that. So it's a farce. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
It's a
not true. It's mamish. It's a Tawasuk.
He's a songwriter, not a.
Not so like it's a chacham. He didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't. He's not a researcher.
He was never there.
But in the savannah, it's empty land. That's what it is. It's empty. It's just empty land. The plains, no hills, it's empty land. And in the there's water holes. Yeah. And every lion is the master of a certain water hole. He's the king of the water hole. He's stuck in the king. No one starts up with the king. Or else you're, some wild hyena or something. But generally, the animal will start. He's the king. He has the water hole. And the story is, the Medrash says that the animals, all the other animals, upset the lion. And the lion says, that's it. No one's coming into my territory. This is my area. And everyone's starving. They're dying. So they came to the fox. Told him, Zalman Kohen said, was a big tzaddik. It's Chaim is Musa. Zohar is Hasidism. The Gemara is Kabbalah. And the stories in the Gemara is Kabbalah Maises. This means like we have no, so we're going to nine documents.
What's the difference between Kabbalah and Kabbalah Maises? Is
Kabbalah is at least something you could have somehow. Kabbalah Maises is like Shemus.
Okay, that's what it means.
Yeah,
that's
Shemus. Shemus English.
It's interesting that the Alter Rebbe used to whenever he wanted to learn Kabbalah, he would learn Gemara. Whenever he wanted to, he would actually do that, in a certain way.
Yeah.
This is absolutely revolutionary. I always think as well. It's given in the sun. At the sun, that's it.
It goes beyond that.
You said if you're angry when you're davening at someone, it's going to block your blessing. It's going to block your happiness. But what if you're davening sincerely?
It would be like shutting the light off on a projector.
But you're still very angry at somebody who did you wrong.
So based on our evolution,
and you're davening, you're doing your davening and everything, sincerity, but you still have that anger. How do you reduce that block of anger when someone did something wrong to you? And you can't forgive.
The creation that exists is what you're saying.
The question is, this is a question about anger in general.
No, but you said if you're davening, you're talking to Hashem, you're communicating with Hashem.
Why does a person hold on to anger? What does it do? So there's two things that happen.
Well, you could let go of it, but you don't forgive. You could say, I'm going to leave it behind, but you don't forgive somebody.
No, on the contrary, you will forgive, but you cannot forget.
How do you forgive somebody who did you wrong?
Because
forgive to me means condone.
No, forgive means no.
That they didn't know what they were doing.
No, it's nothing to do with them. No, it's nothing to do with them. Forgiveness has only to do with you, which means.
What does it mean?
It means this person hurt me or did something to me. I recognize that even though that person did it for their bad choices, and maybe they're not a good person,
they're not normal or
whatever, it's not relevant to me. I am the recipient of that person's.
Well, that was sugarman.
Why?
Asking Hashem why.
Yeah. And the reason is because I have to do something. Nothing to do with them. That doesn't mean they're condoned, not condemning, not condemning.
Hashem's punishing you.
Now, why is he punishing me? Maybe trying to teach you something?
He made you a recipient.
No, that's what we learn in life. You're a recipient of something, and you're recognizing that Hashem wanted you to be a recipient of that thing. Unrelated to that person's free choice. Two separate things.
So what do you say to Hashem or to yourself?
You don't know where
The person, then what should I learn from this?
Yeah, that's
what is
that's
Hashem
right.
teaching?
Yes, exactly. I
How
always
do you
heard.
release it?
That's it. That's how you release it because you recognize that it's not. It's the hurt that you're feeling is not because the other person projected that hurt. It's because Hashem wanted that hurt to be projected towards you.
Hashem didn't want it to happen. He would have let the person be crazy.
That's not irrelevant. He wouldn't let you have that interaction with that person.
He happened to be a shliach.
He's a shliach. He's just a messenger. He's an agent that hurts. But he doesn't mean that agent is not responsible and has consequence for that anger, for the thing that he did to you. But they're two separate issues. If it happened to you, it's meant to be happening to you.
Yeah, well,
Nothing to do with the other person.
it's hard to. It's very hard. It's meant to happen to you.
You have to learn from that. It's the only way to learn. Otherwise, we don't believe in Hashem.
That's why now I said
I believe in Hashem, but I don't understand why Hashem would bring
I didn't say you have to understand.
sadness into my life.
Because maybe you could be so much happier if you're not alone from that.
and it says nothing wrong. There is nothing, only
If you grow from that, you'll be in a better place. When you're going through it,
Many years pass and you don't have the same.
Oh, it's worse. It's
So what are you going to do?
that's already the past.
All right.
If it's the past, you have to ask yourself in the present moment. What do you do? What do you gain by being angry at something that happened? Really nothing.
It's not the question.
Ask another rabbi that.
Just holding on to it. I was just going to, but I didn't know.
How do you let
Recognize that it doesn't.
I let go of it because it wasn't my fault. It was the Mashiach's fault. And Hashem put it in my life for some crazy reason that I don't comprehend. And I have to just let it go.
No, both things are helping. Okay, I'm good.
Hashem wants you to experience it for whatever reason.
To get stronger.
Usually to get stronger.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, one rabbi said, from much pain comes much blessing.
You don't have to go through that direction. Sometimes you can have blessing without pain.
Yeah, it's true.
And we should ask Hashem to only give us blessings without pain.
All right, thank you. I read in the Chumash this week, a Saturday, a line from Moses, and they were talking about that, and it said, we must have very firm borders with copper and metal and silver. I showed it to the lady next to me, and she said, oh, that's like Trump. He wants to have a firm border, and it's from Moshe in the that a riot?
Building a fence.
It was so funny. I'm gonna copy it when it's not Shabbos. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna quote it, and I'm sending it to Trump and to Kushner. I'm gonna tell him it's in the book. Thank you.
We still have to work.
Everything about the Rebbe is but he expected the preceding the Asaisa. Why was everything preceding? Because he believed that everything is, there's already Or and there's already Bina. The Chayas and the Or is already there. So that's Etzem what Tanya is. Tanya is, everything about Tanya is, even though it's conceptual, it's the autonomy of bringing it into Asiya. Everything. That's what it does.
Very low design, Tzimtzum. The Rebbe just made it into a very real thing, in a gashmistic thing. You can tap it, you can touch it. What was the Rebbe's imprint in this world? He created a new Jew. Mamish created a new Jew. This is a new thing. People don't understand this, but we'll take Hashem but the Rebbe basically did, he took the Galus Yid and he said that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's a Gula Yid. And the Gula Yid, the Rebbe was in the shit that people said the Rebbe was a shit not to give Beit Yisrael. It's true. But the same shit was not to give Crown Heights. Yeah, the Yidden left Crown Heights. In the 1960s, the Rebbe was very upset. The Rebbe said a Yid should never run. When the Rebbe said the Jews should stay in South Africa, it's the same shitta. You understand? What's the underlying shitta? And it's a gula now. There's a new dir b'tachtonim. If there's a new dir b'tachtonim, the gula is collect sparks and runs. The sparks, however they run. The gula yid is elevating the entire world. So what's the yid has to leave for someplace? Okay, if this tremendous, okay, it was never a situation in his life. But the Rebbe, contrary to every single person that told every Yid, today all the Rebbe in South Africa will Chabad. Why? Because only Mishkan, they're not going to stay there. There's knowledge. Because the Rebbe said, you're in South Africa, the Rebbe wants you to be there, why are you leaving? And he said, if you're going to stay there, he says it'll be bracha, it'll be peace. What's the shot? If the Yidden are going to stay, there's no bracha, there's peace. Because if they're revealing, Jews shouldn't be run. Maybe should put you in a situation that you belong there, stay there. The Rosen in Romania, the chief rabbi in Romania.
Take water.
I'll give you the crazy shit. They're there, stay there. Even Russian Yidden, right? If you're there, you have to stay there. There's a reason why. The question is if they're up to his vision. Correct. So if they were Hasidim of the state,
eventually we'll get it.
Huh? Yeah.
Eventually we'll get it.
There's no such thing as a place that you feel. It doesn't mean you have to rub going Asgar B'Umas. I'm not saying, but the idea that a Yid feels like there's moistness, there's yeshivas, there's shuls, there's kasher, there's mikvahs in South Africa. Also because the government is changing, everyone should leave. Doesn't make sense to the new way that we're supposed to be thinking. That Mamish didn't have to in Gashmas.
Empty out some water.
In Mocha.
Put your soup in that. This
it's a shit. The city that's surrounded by you let even on Shabbos, letting go on Shabbos to make sure that they don't destroy the city. It's Israel B'chuch Nefesh. That's the way you have to look at it. The Hitch doesn't have to go. The Baal Shem, who's the first person to create like a Jewish defense league? Who's the first person? There's some sugar, Jacob Frank. He was the first person to arm people with knives and guns, pistols. And Hashem had a big chivus to Jacob Frank. And when he shmad, Hashem was crying. He said that it's in Shikha Hashem. He was a crazy person. But the idea of
and then the Kudah was Mashiach.
Mashiach, Hashem loved this year. A guy's what he went with white horses, with a fancy carriage, and with an army. What do you mean? This is the whole Rishna. What's the white older Rebbe's? The Rishna is everyone bowed to the Rishna. The Rishna was in a way, a very interesting Rebbe. It was a very, with white carriages, white horses. We're malachim, we're not Golas anymore.
Tradition is that we don't.
He dressed beautifully. All the Rishna used to wear ties. It's like they wear the hat. They had like a certain Stolzkeit. This is Russian. No longer kings.
invent whatever you want.
This is a mahalach in the whole Achdus Hashem.
It's called where it's a black and it's a top on the black, and on top of that you put the
This is why Mashiach has
no, not here. It doesn't appear.
Has to be here.
In the normal way.
It's the Indian of, you're saying that there's a Nakuda, the Kav, and a Shetach. So the Nakuda is, we were alluding to the shoals being like they have to reach this Nakuda. Is that what you're saying? The Alter, these old shoals like
Alter is very high, like Melech, Malchi, to the point we have to get.
And you said by the Baal Shem Tov, he already brought it down to
that's Baal Shem Tov, you have to this Medrash Baal Shem.
very short.
It's a short little, it's a shtibel. The whole idea of a shtibel is Chassidish, it's a Baal Shem Tov Chiddush.
So would that be Shetach or would that be Kav?
Yeah, no, that was Shetach. We daven.
So who was, I wanted to ask who was the Kav? The Kav.
Those could have Shetach in all three. They looked at the world, they could have Shetach. If you want to do this, you could say the Nakuda is more the Chassidim or the Chassidim Ashkenaz, and then you have the Arizal, and then you have the Baal Shem. The Baal Shem was very low roof. Hashem is very close, very near. Avos Hashem, presence. This whole Torah is a very big chiddush. No one spoke like that. It's such oisius. That's why the Chassidim had a big problem with the Baal Shem. What's with
it's almost too intimate.
It's very intimate. The person next to like an ish mystic.
The problem with that is even though it's not the
the Baal Shem, it's like
yeah, but he's mystically inclusive. Most people are mystically elusive.
Teachings are mufshah.
But on the other hand, everything's very mukhshis also. The whole Mahalach Baal Shem is very not bakshom, but very. It's avoid it's a
very imminent avoda.
It's very imminent. So therefore, it's a shtibul and everyone davens and
take off with the Baal Shem.
Huh?
Take flight. Yeah, you can take flight. That's it. That's right.
You can break Shabbat. If you don't know, if we're not
it's usage of teachings of the Mark. There wouldn't be a book really. There's no safer. There's no other safer that delves into this. It's not absolute. No, if you think about it, it's absolute.
Thank you for having me. It's really beautiful.
Second generation.
Big words. Chayz is pure. Chayz was upset with the Tanya. And here he brings down that when the Chayz was with the Tanya, he wrote the B'ditch V'Rav.
Chayz saw the Alter Rebbe?
No. Sure.
Yeah, but I thought the Chozeh was a student of the Maggid. I thought he was a student of the Melech Melezhensk.
Right, but he was by the Maggid.
By the end of the Maggid or something?
Yeah. Chayz definitely. But he was more a student of the Melech, but he was definitely by the Maggid.
Wow.
The Chayz said, because the Chayz was very Afshata. It's Afshatadik Chassidus. The Chayz looked at the Tanya and says, it's a Choshech. He wrote He wrote the Baditcher. So the Baditcher wrote Yoitzer Cheshach. The Cheshach was higher, so that's why. But it makes sense.
Why do you think the Chayzer felt that way?
Oh, because Yotzer but Avoris, you know.
Avoris and higher.
Because the Chayzer was busy gazing from one end to the other.
The Chayzer was a Baal Shem.
We have a lot of stories about him that he got, like, the Chayzer got angry. Like, he used to get, he used to actually get angry.
The Chayzer was no, but the Chayzer is a big oil. The Chayzer put a lot of.
That's what passed away on Tishbov, no?
Some say
he passed away in Av. It's a hard month.
People say he said towards the end of his life, people write that he went a little crazy.
He was a little depressed. But he had big orders. He was big orders. And Alter Rebbe came and gave a lot of kelim. As I'm saying, he did the nimshal. And the Torah of Baal Shem, pure Torah of Baal Shem, that's all the nimshal. There's no marshal, there's no Torah Arizal. Hashem mentions 5 times everything, he says. Derech Hagav, like salt and pepper, whatever there is. And the Alter Rebbe made a whole shit of it. The Torah is all heavy there. And he explained the whole Calvin, Tzimtzum, he explained the whole Arichas of Torah according to Hasidism. So some rabbis were very upset. They didn't understand what he was doing. What was Pshat? The thing is that a person like the Chayzer, it's it's not nimshach. It's there's a lot of lawyers. Right. There's no pshacha because then the Rebbe dies.
You're saying the Baal Shem?
Yeah, even the Chayzer. So where's the lawyer? The lawyer is in the alarm. So the Chassidim are left with nothing really. Because it's an oil. It's a big oil.
You see, this is like pretty much all the tzaddikim. The Baditcher was a big oil. It's not
Baditcher was not mabish like that. Because Baditcher was small and very serious, and it's but yeah, Baditcher was different. Chayzer was mamish of shot. He came to the Chayzer, he felt it's like a ruach of Baal Shem. That's what they said. The Chayzer was a Baal Shem. People felt it that way. They felt like it's a new oil of them. It's like it was a lichtige mensch. Had a lot of light.
He learned by the Rav Shitzer. He was the main Talmud.
Yeah. The Rav Shitzer and the Rabbinim was the main Talmud. The Eda Kodesh.
Right.
Wait, Rav Shitzer was his teacher?
No, the
Talmud. Yeah, but Nei Sachar came.
The same lineage, the same collection. Either Kodesh.
Is he really that Polish?
No, that's not Polish. Rabbinim is gets the cuts.
Kind of like kernels, like very strong.
Very sharp, very clear-headed. There's no cuts comes from Rabbanim. It has to. This emes-kite and there's no time to waste on trivialities and toyerlach and pshat. Rabbanim was straight, very wise, very direct.
The question is, where does the Shliach come from?
It's interesting. I think it's the Torah of that. It's the Torah of the direct type of Torah. Meshaluch is not Polish Torah. It's not a never. It's not a pshat in the pasuk. It's an oimik in the pasuk. It's not a.
He's like a Kotz Torah.
It's a Kotz Torah. It's a Kotz.
I was just saying
that. Yeah, in Torah. It's
Mali Iris. Yeah,
because it comes.
It makes people like, Rav Shlomo used to teach Ishbitz and people would like wake up from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was wondering why Davka that Sefer
he would teach every type of Sefer. He said, I would teach my mom from the Rebbe, and I would teach Rav Cook, and I would teach Polish, and he said he would teach everything. But all of a sudden, I turned Ishbitz. Everyone like woke up. You know, like,
first of all, there's a few reasons for this. Number one is Ishbitz was not known.
that's why they
It wasn't a long time, only about people learned it. It was not a very popular, because there's no Ishbitz around anymore. There's no Ishbitz Chassidim. So it became a shtickle forgotten Torah. And that was a big chiddush for some people that. Second of all, a lot of Ishbitz Torah talks to this generation. Because in Ishbitz, he makes a whole a gewalt and like a positive spin on Rishonim, on Averis. They talked very much to this generation that felt very lost, very downtrodden. So Ishbitz gave them a frame of reference to think about things that I call the Shamayim, even your Averis. And so people, especially Baal Shem, people are going through strong. This was a very strong Torah that allowed them to think this way.
Explain to you.
See, your tzaddik and your Lev took that was in the kudah. It's very strong.
But the way they took it is so interesting.
Very different, yeah.
Because the tzaddik was a big Talmud Chacham, so it's
Tzaddik's like many different ways.
The Rebbe knew Reb Tzaddik and the ISIS.
It makes sense.
The first time.
That one's Yokan's of the story. It's a crazy story. Because he never quoted. He never knew where he's quoting from. But in the early years, there was quoted Tafshin and the Mems, Yud never quoted something. Then there was no Svar. And the very last, where's it come from? There's ever Chazan and Kuda. And there's a settle. The Rebbe writes like 10 lines. And from Tzitz Tzaddik. And says, it calls the Mizrach, so please check Tzitz Tzaddik and make sure it's correct. But he wrote, like, not
Which means he knew it by memory.
He knew the words, like a Gemara.
And recall.
He had recall of the words, what it said. And he wrote it out. He wrote out what it said from memory. Tzaddik was very special. Even though Rebbe never spoke openly which Svarim he's Yoidik from, so it's very hard to know what, where, when.
No one ever really saw things on his table or anything. It was like no one ever saw a glimpse of
I'll tell you the truth. Once Rebbe became a Rebbe, he was Mafka Chayav. He cared about Klal Yisrael. The whole learning was secondary. Even though he learned Shas and Paskim. He learned. He didn't have time for the Svarim. In the early
question is, when did he have time to learn all of their names? Everything before.
Yeah, when he became a Rebbe, he was a Bakir and everything. But people that saw him learning was always with the Gemara. There's even pictures. There's some pictures of him learning.
Like 1 or 2 times. Yeah.
There's pictures every time. His jacket saying by Shtanda learning Gemara.
Oh, let's see that.
Yeah, it's very nice pictures. That was his, probably Nigla Gemara Shas Pasuk. Rambam, that's but I shouldn't say right away, because Tul probably, till the 1960s, it wasn't so busy. It didn't become big Rebbe until like everyone started coming until the 60s.
When did that happen? What was the shift? Was it with when he started to take dollars?
No, that's much later. In the 60s already. In the 1960s, it became
Was there a particular shift?
I think it had to do. It could be Taka. It had to do with when was Milchemet Shishim? 68. Which? Milchemet Shishim. In 68, it became. Everyone started recognizing because he like said like Nevuos, like Yidden should leave Eretz Yisrael. Then everyone was leaving. All the Bachram left Eretz Yisrael. All the American kids left. They thought it was going to be over. Everyone thought that it was going to be destroyed. And the Rebbe spoke publicly, openly that it's and then with all the papers, Israeli papers, it started becoming like a thing. I think around that time. I can't tell you exactly. But in the early years, it used to still be gets for him. Rabbi Heller told me once, Rabbi Heller's father, that he once came, it was in 19. And the Yuds walked into 778 and he said he was looking for Shuvas Maram Chalva.
Oh, what?
Shuvas Maram Chalva. Shuvas Maram Chalva. And 30 years later, they recorded it. They recorded Maram Chalva and he Yichidus. I heard it. It was about Chatzi Shir. Other Chatzi Shir is also Shir. It says, they told me about Shuvas Maram Chalva. I guarantee they haven't seen that safe in 50 years.
Right, it was just that one time.
Looked at it. There's also a letter that just came out that the Rebbe told someone to get Chaim Kanevsky's phone. So?
Really?
Yeah. It's 1950s. He wrote
50s? Chaim was already writing Svarim.
Yeah.
What's something Yaakov? Kilas Yaakov?
Kilas Yaakov is a stipler. So he said, B'noi Shalom. He asked the guy that sold to get him the safe, B'noi Shalom stipler.
Ayeles HaShachar, right? Is that the same?
Yeah, maybe Ayeles. No, Ayeles HaShachar is a stipler. He asked him to get him, Chaim got so many Svarim. People, they could many Svarim.
He wrote on that.
So he wrote, he said, get him safe from the stipler son.
Good enough.
You think, I don't know why I don't know this, did the Rebbe, was he mocker of cook at all? Did he, is there any Hakara?
This is a complicated issue. It's complicated. I don't think they ever quotes it. I don't think it's quoted. The Rayatz went to Arizal. And he went to his hands on the phone. His hands on the Yerushalayim. He's a big Kanoi. He fought very strongly against him.
Even though they were together.
Yeah, they went many times together. But that's the way it was then. Yeah. And he fought him. When the Rayatz came to Israel, Yerushalayim, there were two sets. Some people said you can only go to Yisrael on the phone. Some people said you can only visit Rav Kook, and you can't go to both. Either you align yourself with the Chedus, or you align yourself with Rav Kook. And the Rayatz went to both. Went to Yisrael on the phone, and he went to visit Rav Kook. And they say, I heard from Yisrael Friedman, I don't know if it's true. Yisrael told me that after the Rayatz came out there from Rav Kook, they asked him, what do you think about it? I think they're shocked, so I'll ask him. He says, as a great mensch, aber es ashod, it's herangemisht in politics. So he's a big person. It's a pity that he got involved in politics. That if he would have stayed removed from the politics, he could have stayed clean, and people would have been accepted. But he got involved in politics, and it was strong. That was the Yatz's take. But I don't think they're bad any shaykhs. They're about shaykhs in I-11, very strong. I-11, very strong. You know I-11. I-11, the Rebbe used to send every year for Pesach. I heard the story from the person that took the matzah. Every year the Rebbe used to give matzahs to people in Yerushalayim. One was I-11. I think I-11 passed away long ago. It could be those years. And the Imam came to get matzahs for these Arbonim, and he used to get, let's say, 11 matzahs. One was for I-11. Then we gave him 10. And they used to count. This is for 7 got a matzah. And certain people got a matzah. So the guy said, "Was mit der I-11?"
Or only Jews.
He said, like I said, "Was mit I-11?" So the guy realized maybe he shouldn't ask for whatever reason, and he just walked away. And he passed away every Pesach.
Oh, really? Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you ask for the 11?
It's crazy.
Wow.
He was I-11 was a Choshen.
She's gold. It's just interesting because that was what Rav Kook did. He took the achrayas of all these people. Like no one else is doing that.
I'm saying,
doing shlichas.
I'm saying, but I-11 did the same thing.
Yeah.
Literally, he went into the jail. He was. There's always more.
No, it's a boire. Been singing this for the past 3 days. Yeah. It's going to be on the album. Yeah. Let's hear. Flowers are boire, ya boire is boire. The flowers are boire, ya boire is boire. The flowers are boire, ya boire is boire. The flowers are boire, ya boire. Abare is bare, v'ishtabach v'yispoeh v'yisroimam v'yisnaseh v'yisadar v'yisaleh v'yisalal shmei dekut shabrichu niflo is abare Aboire Yisbar Niflas Aboire Yisbar Niflas Aboire Yisbar Niflas Aboire Yisbar Yishtabach Yizbaweh Yizrama Yiznazeh Yisada Yisale Yisala Shmei Dekut Shabrichu Da 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 da
Comes down from heaven.
Relation through you.
Exactly. Like that. Something Solomon or something. A guy in Australia, South Africa. There's a guy who has a Gavaldik term on this. Revelation to you versus a revelation through you. Since a lot of people have revelations to you, but most of them are crazy. It's the people who become, the revelation is through them and they transmit it to the world. But those are the people who are actually considered normal and healthy, because that's what a revelation is for. It's not meant to stay here. Otherwise, you go crazy. No, he says something to that story. Relation to
I do, why not?
You think you do.
But I don't.
Shame introduced me, you remember? And that's why you wear.
No, I don't talk about when, where?
You came with him for a show.
Him, right?
Yes. And he introduced me to you.
Ah.
It's a long time.
It's a very long time ago.
You still in touch with him?
And this is the second time since then?
No. The second time I remember. It was last year.
Raise a holy Jew.
Yeah, we know.
Every Jew is a holy Jew.
You know Levi's the women?
No. Some of them.
Oh, they're great.
Levi, every Jew?
Come on, give it to us.
Every Jew.
Cause every Jew.
I just looked it up a little bit, you know.
It's remix.
Oh, it's every day.
Every day.
Now, Simcha has a grace of Al Niganim.
Yeah, Simcha is the market.
Wait, what was it? When were you making up songs? It was unbelievable. You giving us so much.
No, it was in the car. It was in the car. It was in the. We were on the way.
Oh, wait, where? Was it? Oh, to the Shabbat?
You all went Sunday?
Yeah, we all went Sunday.
No.
Yeah, but that's not.
I didn't go on Sunday. I went on.
You went on Sunday with us.
But you went on what? I saw you Wednesday, Thursday.
We went for Dale, New Jersey.
No, it was Thursday. Sunday.
Simcha, let's see if you got it.
What was Motzei Shabbos? Oh, the Motzei Shabbos made
Motzei Shabbos is something else, I think. You went Sunday with us.
When was the wedding? On Thursday? No, Wednesday.
Tuesday.
It's been a rough couple of weeks, Shlomo. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
I totally understand.
I think the rabbi wants to go to sleep.
Yeah?
You look tired? He's by himself. The rabbi.
Oh, we wrote some Tate.
Oh, yeah, he wrote
What
this.
Tate? Let's see how Tate. Yeah? So sing.
I don't know. It was more that it.
Maybe he wrote a remix on that one. That was good.
He took us out of anything other than pure simcha. That's where he took us out of.
The rabbi helps with that. The rabbi helps us to be in the moment.
Yes.
Now.
So let's hear the song.
He brings us to the shetach. The shetach hidden. That's really what we are.
Shetach. Can we hear the nigga?
I don't remember. If only. He can't. Right now is not a time for its revelation.
It's very deep. It went on for, what was it, like 30 minutes?
To be honest, it's not the type of nigga you can follow. It's the type of nigga which you hear and you suddenly awaken the tshuva. You suddenly awaken the tshuva, but it's not to be sung again.
I disagree, but okay.
No. Taka, I think we should probably transition.
Okay. You're back. You're right, yeah?
Yeah. It's not
Is there space for all?
Okay.